Well, there's an old Roman expression, the truth is mighty and it shall prevail. And the fact that they believed it and the fact that they said it so many times showed there was a lot of honor back then and in the truth. The truth actually is about silver and precious metals. I'm going to say a couple things. Basically, there's one advantage that silver can have in the future as a money in a way, even though it's too volatile to act strictly as a money. Actually, if there's going to be a money, it's going to have to be a true good money. It's going to have to be across a host of commodities. But I just want to point this thing out. Maybe a lot of people don't know about this, but like how gold is, that you really can't break it down. It doesn't like tarnish. It doesn't react with other metals. It doesn't react with air. It doesn't. If gold fell off of a ship, went into the bottom of the ocean in the salt water, it would never tarnish. 5,000 years from now, it's still same metal. Now silver doesn't quite have that properties because it tarnishes, right? Well, there is something that you can mix in the equation that can make silver not tarnish ever, pretty much ever, and that is germanium. See, like when we have, I'm just ad-libbing on this a little bit before I get into a couple other things, but just want to point this out as a point of interest. Because one of the problems with silver also is that it tarnishes, it erodes, in that way, because it actually oxidizes with the air. Very slow process. So that's why they had the coinage that we have before, from prior to 1964, was 90% silver. It wasn't 100% because 100% is, we tarnish too much. They used to put like copper in it. Sterling silver is defined as 92.5% silver, 7.5% copper usually, right? If you put germanium in it, argentium actually, they call it argentium silver, if they made coins out of that, they would never tarnish and they would look as brilliant as, well, platinum or even beyond, because silver actually has the luster of, it polishes more to a luster than any other metal out there. That's why it's used in mirrors. And aluminum used in mirrors is far inferior to silver. So, that's just some food for thought. But it's not going to actually be a coinage and that type of stuff. But, it could be one alternative currency out there in a lot of ways if they actually made coins out of that were sterling silver that had germanium in them. I mean, it's a slick idea. Nobody's grabbing the ball. Nobody's grabbing the ball. I don't have the means to do that. I just threw it out here because it is a hell of an idea. Now, I'm saying is the truth shall prevail, because first off, we're going to get back to reality. For one thing is, pretty much all money as we know it, and has always been traditionally taught in all the universities, is a guise. It's just a medium of exchange. It has no intrinsic wealth. That's the modern definition of money. Now, a lot of people that are into gold and silver, like, they realize that it should have intrinsic wealth. Well, in effect, our money is actually backed by oil now, because of the dollar trade in oil. But where we see signs of the system coming down, and it takes a long time. It takes a long time, and even with the United States got knocked from the #1 power in the world, it's still not going to go away. It's not going to go down to the last power in the world. But the thing is, if you look back at all the history, like from the cities of Genoa and Venice with the trading in the Mediterranean, and what the bond rates were back then, and how much they had to lend, and how they basically got themselves into debt, into oblivion. The Dutch did the same thing later on. They did the same thing. The United Kingdom did the same thing with the British Empire. They overstretched themselves, and the USA is doing that too. Now, I want to say something else with the USA and its military. You could say that we're overspending on defense budget and all that type of stuff, which may be true, but they are cutting back. But one thing, like when we have troops in Japan, for instance, in the Far East, actually the Japanese government pays for most of that. They pay for all the what do you call it, the structures and the barracks that everybody lives in, which are very nice. They're like hotels practically. They pay for everything. They pay for practically everything. Actually, the majority of that expense is actually picked up by the Japanese government, believe it or not. And so actually where we're actually spending a lot of money is mainly in Afghanistan and Iraq. If you look at the embassy that's over in Baghdad, that was built, the U.S. Embassy, God, it looks like it rivals the Vatican in glory. It's ridiculous. It's like an embassy that's built like the Citadel of Rome was or something back when they had to worry about massive attacks. They spent a hell of a lot of money on that embassy. Actually, where you're looking at where most of the money is being spent in foreign countries, it's more towards the Middle East, not in Japan. Japan actually picks up the vast majority of the expense. So just want to put that out there because I think a lot of people don't know these little tidbits because sometimes they say, oh, we're picking up all the defense for Japan, and no, they're picking up most of it, actually, to tell you the truth. And so anyway, when we're talking about some China aggression or anything like that, where they're putting their territories out where these islands are, Japan is actually paying for a lot of our military out there. So it's like they're footing the bill, man. I just want to put that out there. I just want to put something else out because like a lot of people are talking about like silver almost like a speculative bet all the way. I do know, and I'm almost 110% sure it is, that it's going to go into a hyperbolic speculative bubble that's going to surprise the crap out of people and get way ahead of itself. Right now the mood is so freaking bad that people are like, what, this is why I really feel really more confident in it. It's that all these people that used to say, oh yeah, you got to buy silver, else just all your money's got to go in this silver, and I never said that. I always said it's a good investment. It's like they were saying all your money's going to go into silver, and all the sky's going to crash and everything like that. Now they're like backing away from it. They're getting away from it. They're going into bitcoins now that it's high. You'd have been smartest thing in the world to do back a couple of years ago or even early this year, but it's not too smart, I don't think, now. You're playing a dangerous roulette game. But now it's like silver is like looking like the worst investment in the world, right? But I'm going to say this again. I don't see it going down to $10 or $8 or all this kind of crap that people are predicting. I don't know. I don't know that for an absolute fact, but if it went down to some number like that, I think the only way you're going to be able to buy it is electronically. I mean, I think you're probably, you see, what I'm also suspecting is that even the people that have these bitcoins, and like you talk about the $100 million online wallet that was stolen. Now, what is that guy doing with the money that stole the $100 million wallet? I mean, how much silver is there available for investment? I know what I'd be doing if I had millions of dollars of bitcoins. I'd be trying to get I don't have it. I just didn't buy it on principle. But I'd be buying precious metals, and I think that's what a lot of these people are doing. And you don't really know what the hell the buying pressure is on the precious metals. I don't think everybody has the stats out there, but use a lot of common sense. What would you be doing if you like put $100 into something and you got gazillions of dollars and millions of dollars out of something? You're gonna hold that? Maybe some people are. Maybe some people are reinvesting in the hardware to remine the bitcoins, but they're probably not doing that with all the money. I also want to present something else out here because I talked a little bit about warfare and stuff. I know people were concerned about North Korea. I'm going to say this, the reality is, no matter how much pressure there is on American people, I'm not for war, but I'm just telling you that they'll do it anyway. I'm going to say, like, you remember they had the Great War, the war to end all wars, now referred to as World War I. They figured out in the 1920s what the hell the problem was, how we got hoodwinked into it. They figured out about the Lusitania, and then J.P. Morgan bought up a whole bunch of newspapers to make it like, we don't want this bad information out. Then they crashed the economy in the 1930s, basically. We had the Great Depression. We had the Dust Bowl, right? There was like the worst freaking depression going. And this was only like, 20 years after, not even 20 years after World War I, right? The greatest war to end all wars. And in 1940, just before, or 1941, in August of 1941, they had a Gallup poll. 83% of Americans did not want to get involved in any kind of conflict that was going on in Europe when the Germans invaded Poland in 1939 and Japanese were invading China and all this kind of stuff. They didn't want to get involved at all. 83%. Thus, we had Pearl Harbor. Now, I know there's always talk about, maybe we'll have another 9/11 to get us involved in a war. I'm going to say this, no matter how much pressure is on us, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying they'll probably do it. So you got to be, thinking about this kind of stuff, not to freaking put a big damper on things and scare the crap out of people, but you've got to like keep this in the back of your head a little bit, that no matter how bad things look like, we can't afford something. You know, the United States was coming out of a Great Depression, or was still in a Great Depression, and they still got involved in World War II. Right? I mean, could they do it again? Yeah, they could do it again. They always do this kind of stuff. All right? I mean, I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm not for Bush or Cheney or Obama. I'm not for any of those guys, man. Hey, none of them are Italian. Right? Anyway. You know, you got to go back to the old Roman justice. The only time the Romans actually created wars most of the time was when they needed something. You know, it was actually for, you know, the Dacians had the gold mines, so they invaded Dacia, they needed more gold, and that made sense, right? I mean, that's what they did. They didn't just, like, conquer for the hell of it. It was like, what's over there that we need? You know, that's basically what they did. You know, I'm going to also say something about Vladimir Putin, man. This guy's the slickest guy on the planet. Not in my mind, but man, it's got a lot of people fooled. I put some stuff out about the alternative media, Russia Today, Abby Martin with a shill. You know, I'm getting attacked on this thing left and right from people that think, you know, oh, they're telling the truth, and yeah, they are telling the truth, but they're leaving out everything that goes on bad in Russia. And there's a lot more going on in Russia than it is even over here. And you know, I'm going to put a link on the bottom of this video. Not in the video itself, but in the information box, about Zhirinovsky. And you could say he's a buffoon clown, but he's the vice chairman or vice president of the Duma, whatever the hell it is. He's a high-up political leader. He actually stated that Russia caused the tsunami on Japan, and that he could blow up and kill hundreds of millions of people in the blink of an eye. And you know, he's got a lot of support over there, because the Russian people are getting brainwashed left and right, just like the American people are through Russia Today, that America's the whole problem in the world. Bullshit. No way. Actually, if a lot of other countries, you know, had American military might, they would have flattened. I mean, Islamic people, you know, these religious guys on the top, the most radical ones. I'm not talking about your average Muslim. Most average Muslims are born Muslim and they just want to do their own thing, and they're not really thinking about all this crazy stuff. But the most radical Muslims happen to be, like everybody, you know, who's a leader, they must happen to be the most radical. If they had the power of the United States, they would already nuke the United States. So, you know, it's like, you know, people don't see it until they see the other side is even worse. But, you know, I'm going to say this, though. If I would put, you know, I wish I could actually talk to Western elite, to myself, because, you know, the whole key to actually diffusing Russia is to freaking trash the oil prices down to zero. Now, that wouldn't help me, because I think the oil price is going to go up, and that's the only way I'm going to make money. I'm making a speculative bet that's freaking getting me killed right now. But, you know, the thing is, it's probably going to play out, because I know Vladimir Putin wants $250 barrel oil, even though he'll be blaming the West on it, but he'll be smiling all through the way to the bank. But the way to actually cut off the power of Vladimir Putin at the knees is to actually drop the oil prices down to like almost nothing. And the way to do that, possibly real fast, is through industrial hemp. You know, they can argue about, you know, fracking and natural gas, and they say, oh, it's ruining the environment, but industrial hemp is actually going to improve the environment, and it's actually going to, you know, green up, you know, everything and help the air and all this other stuff. And they don't really need pesticides or anything like that. Now, our elite have plenty of money. They probably have plenty of land. They probably have the ways to get all the water and stuff. You know, the thing is, they don't want to play that game, because it's like making a new move. Somebody else can come up from the outside and knock them out of their position. So they want to keep their racket going nice and smooth. That's the deal. But, you know, I think Putin is a lot smarter than the Western elite right now. And I look back to one little prophecy from the Message of Fatima. The Message of Fatima is like a Catholic thing, but not necessarily. It's actually a world thing. She said that when Mary appeared to those 3 children, she said that the Lord is very angry at the sins being committed by mankind, and actually there's a battle going on between good and evil, and actually the devil's challenging God. That's what, you know, she said, and that it looks like the challenge was coming on more since 1960, and when you see all the social upheaval. I'm going to throw a little religion in here, but she said that, it's not. Russia is going to be used by God specifically to chastise mankind for its sins. And you know, if you're looking at that prophecy that was made way back in 1917, before the end of World War I, that looks like it's coming true, man. That looks like it's coming true, because they're doing a very not with me, but I think with a lot of the average people in the United States, they're thinking, no, Russia's and Putin's on that side of justice and all this kind of crap. No, he ain't. He's empire all the way, man, and they're brutal. They're brutal as shit. So, you know, you got to watch what the hell is going on in the alternative media too, big time, because it's not all true. And so, anyway, I was going to say that, you know, the sentiment right now on silver is so low. I know it went up a little bit today. You know, sometimes it's taking a hit because of the non-farm payrolls are coming out, and, you know, numbers like that. But it doesn't look like, you know, it looks like that 18-something number may hold. What will probably drive down the markets, and it's not going to be for a couple months, is when they have a crisis with the budgets, which is going to be good for gold and silver. You see? So it might be the markets go down and this goes up, but that's not going to happen in the month of December. But I just want you to put things in perspective too on a lot of the issues, because you know, this isn't just a speculative bet. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you know, I may be in the financial world and that type of stuff, but I'm halfway a little bit in the blue collar world, a little bit, as just kind of a side note. And I realized the blue collar world is actually the backbone of America, all the way. You know, that's probably why I got more into the accounting, construction, and finance area versus the accounting and finance area strictly for finance and accounting. It was more into construction, because it actually is a product that people need. But I was always into numbers, you know, I never saw the buildings too much. But it was like I was helping, you know, I was directing the guy that runs the things, and I'm talking about pretty big damn operations, you know, as to what goes on. And I work my ass off on this shit with the numbers, and I do understand numbers and everything to the max, and very high complex spreadsheets and advanced databases and access and all this type of stuff. I could do a lot of shit. But I don't put that kind of stuff out here because that just impresses people with mumbo jumbo. I'm keeping things down to real nuts and bolts. The reality is behind silver that it's always been somewhat of a store of wealth for all time. And, you know, for it being depressed as bad as it is right now, and the sentiment being as bad as it is right now, it's probably a pretty safe investment for a change, where, you know, normally it's a very highly speculative investment. It's like before they would throw stones at me when I said it was it's a high risk speculative investment, when it was high. Now that it's low, you know, I'll say that it's okay. You know, it's still like, now the sentiment's so bad, they're like thinking, oh, it's even bad at $20. You know, before I was saying it was a little riskier, you know, up before, and they didn't want to hear it. Now I'm saying it, you know, at half the price or less than half the price, and they're thinking it's a bad investment, which is telling me it's a good investment. Anyway, oh, as a end note, I finally got my other cat. He's over there, and he's a shy cat. And I deliberately picked up this cat because he's the shyest cat, and I think if they had to get rid of a cat and put him to sleep, he would be the first one to go. And what I got going here is I got his litter box in here. I got to keep him in this office thing here. He's got his food in here, and he's got his own little domain. I'm going to make a little shelf for him by the window that's got the steel on the outside, so nothing flies in. I always put steel on my windows, corrugated, going like this, and 1/8 inch. And he's going to have, I play him all these healing waves music, always this thing that goes over. I'm going to work on him. And actually, you know, as a side note, I'm going to tell you, like, I'm going to figure out what works with these shy cats and stuff like that. And, you know, that they, you know, I'm going to get them to come around. So, you know, it's a little project of mine. And I'm going to try all my alternative healing stuff, the coconut oil, the Lakowski coils, the healing waves, you know, you name it. And I'm going to get this guy to be a little robust, fun, frolicking cat, you know. So we'll see how we do that later. Anyway, that kind of stuff is actually more important than silver, to tell you the truth. But just don't worry about this silver shit. Don't worry about it, man. Hang on to it. Hang on to it. Don't. Man, these guys wouldn't sell when it was $45. They're like, it's gonna go to $5. Now it's 20. You're like, oh, it's gonna fall down the other way. I don't know, man. I don't know. But I'm not really out for the guy that's playing pure speculative. I'm out for the blue collar worker and the real producers. I want those guys to survive. So I'm telling you, hang on to your silver, man. Hang on to it, man. It ain't going away.